back to the Dirt Hippie channel. If you're new here, I'm Jenny and I'm gardening in Maryland, Zone 7. And this week has been a little bit about chores and trying to catch up with some of the things that I've been meaning to get to, like mulching around the garlic bed. I did weed whack and kind of cleared out next to the garlic bed so it's easier to access and the weeds won't jump into the bed. I did some weed whacking around the meadow as well so that those new plants won't have a lot of competition. I still have a lot of weed whacking to do, but it was more critical to do it here and in the meadow than anywhere else, so I tackled that first and laid down some mulch. And then, as you can see, the big project for today was trellising my peas. I'm a little late trellising the peas. I probably should have done it a couple weeks ago. They already started putting their tendrils out, so I'm very late in doing that, but I think it'll be okay. I added some bamboo stakes to the middle for height because if we get a nice long spring, those peas will just continue to grow. That's the Wando variety, and they usually get about 5 feet before they kind of peter out. But if we have a nice long spring, they might last a lot longer and they'll grow taller than that. So I went ahead and gave them a few bamboo stakes to give them a little extra height. And if I need to, I'll add another piece of fencing on top of that one. Again, that was a piece of fencing left over from the other piece that I recovered. So yeah, it's just all reused materials. The bamboo stakes were from last year's garden. You know, I just saved those because they're so useful for staking things. I think I used those for the tomatoes last year. So I keep those around, and whenever I harvest more bamboo, because it does creep onto our property, and I always cut it back, and I just save those for use later because they always come in super handy. Like last year I made my, you know, kind of makeshift gate out of bamboo, so I just, you know, using whatever I had around. So yeah, today's just kind of been catching up on projects. I still need to, I have the straw bale and I'm gonna mulch the beds in the terrace garden today, and just generally, you know, do some other chores and things. I did have one pest on my tomatoes already, so just after I discovered the allium leaf miner on my garlic, which by the way has 2 life cycles, I did more research, 2 life cycles in the year. And the flyers, it's a little fly, and they'll come out September through November. So I think I'm gonna hang on to my garlic until well into December because my beds don't really freeze hard. These are raised beds, and so they do get a lot of sunlight, and I haven't found that they freeze a lot. So I can likely plant into December and it won't be an issue. So I'll avoid the adult life in the fall. And there's a spring cycle as well. So I will likely net them early in the spring, just so that I don't get it next year. I don't want to perpetuate it. Also, if you have decorative alliums, you may want to, I don't know really how to combat it other than to pull the bulbs, you know, before end of season, which kind of stinks because usually you can leave alliums in the ground and they're fine, or maybe net them, I don't know. So just be aware that it will attack decorative alliums as well. So, and those are kind of expensive bulbs, so be on the lookout for that. And it will just annihilate the whole bulb, so you'll just lose your whole plant out of it. But the pest I found on the tomatoes was a tomato black fly, and I've seen them before, but it's so early in the season. I went ahead and made up some of my own, you know, insecticidal soap. So basically what I did was I took my dish soap and mixed it with water and put it in a spray bottle, and then my spray bottle broke, of course, because, you know, why not? So then I had to, you know, rub it in my hands, get it soapy, and then actually just kind of rub each leaf and make sure all of the bugs were off, make sure they were really well coated. And I did that in the evening, and the reason is you can burn your foliage if you're not careful, so I'm always really cautious about using anything on my plants during the day, especially if it has an oil in it. You can really burn some foliage, so just be cautious. But the soapy water worked. I didn't have too bad of an infestation, so it was fairly easy for me to see what I was treating, and I just coated them well, and so far they haven't come back, but I am going to have to keep an eye on that as well. So if you're in Maryland, you may want to have a look at your tomatoes if they're already out, and see if you have any of that. They look like little gnats, and they feed similar to the way that aphids feed. So just be aware of that and know that you may end up having to treat for that, but you don't need to use anything other than soapy water. What it does is they have little air holes along their sides, and it actually just kind of sticks to them and doesn't allow them to open and close and for air to get in and out. So it just sort of suffocates them, which kind of stinks, but not for you if you want tomatoes. So anyway, that's my advice for that, and just keep after it because they will likely come back. It only knocks the population back. You're not likely to get all of them, which no insecticide is going to do that 100%. So even the chemical ones, you're not going to kill everything. So anyway, things to be aware of early in the season. I have not seen a lot of cabbage whites flying around, which is really surprising. Usually they're already out. I do still have my rutabagas covered though, because I know as soon as I take that cover off, they're gonna be flying around. So I'm keeping those covered for now. And I had a squirrel digging into, I think it was a squirrel, digging into the groundnut bed, you know, the planter boxes that I just created around the gate. It was digging into the groundnut side. I don't know what it was like. It's a brand new bed, so I'm not, like, maybe it thought it buried something in there last year, I'm not sure. But nothing was buried in there now. I looked, there were no nuts or anything, just made a big hole next to the ground nut, so I'm not really sure what was going on with that. But anyhow, so it's lots of pests right now that I'm dealing with, and I'm sure you're dealing with the same thing in your gardens. And just generally trying to keep the garden looking orderly, even though there's stuff everywhere. I'm sure you have the same problem where there's just stuff everywhere that needs to be taken care of, and I'm like, I'll get to it, and it sits in a pile sometimes for a while, and then I eventually will get to it and move it to its proper spot or address it, like the trellising for the peas. I have not yet trellised the tomatoes. They still look upright. They're still doing good, except for a couple of them are starting to lay over, but I really think it's fine. I'm waiting. I need to go and find enough fencing to make something so that I can trellis them. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do it, but I will make something for them to climb. I may end up having to buy fencing because I don't have a lot left up there that's even really usable. A lot of it is completely smashed and not usable at all. So I will use what I can, but you know, there's a limit to that. So yeah, I hope everybody's been able to get out into the gardens, or at least outside, and enjoy some of the spring flowers. All of my stuff looks really good. The squashes look like they've stopped, you know, I mean, they do have new leaves on them, which is really good. So they didn't get too stunted from the cooler temps that we've had. The peppers still look good. The tomatoes look great. I have no complaints against the peppers. They are still, you know, they're shooting up. So yeah, there's just a lot of things on the list to do. I'm sorry, I'm weeding while I'm talking to you guys, trying to clean out this bed. And I still haven't decided yet what's gonna go. Right where you're sitting, the camera is where I pulled up that garlic, and I have not decided yet what I want to put in here. I have oodles of herbs in the basement that need to come out, so I'm contemplating putting some of those in here, but I don't know yet if I'm gonna do that. Anyway, I hope you all had a great weekend, and with that, I'll catch you outside.